If you watch part 1, you already know what Salt Spring produced. You know how a dispute over lottery scam in Leeds in September 2015 ended with Joseph Whittaker dead in the street, and how that murder turned his older brother Daniel G-Man Whittaker into the founder of one of the most violent gangs Western Jamaica had ever seen. You know how G-City built itself on AK-47s and M16 rifles, on extortion and fear, on a blood feud with the Waltham Bad Breed gang that pushed St. James to 270 murders in 2016 and 341 in 2017. You know how G-Man was eventually killed, how Paul J. Lewis, the second in command, died in a police confrontation in Old Harbor in October 2017, how Tevin Pete Stewart was cut down in Salt Spring in February 2022. And you know that the youngest of the 3 Whittaker brothers, Andrae, the dancehall artist the world knows as Squash, left Jamaica in 2019 after spending 5 months in SOE detention without charge, and had not gone back since. That is where we left off. Now we follow him north. By 2022, the war that had started in Salt Spring, St. James, over a set of scamming leads had traveled more than 1,000 miles north and planted itself in the middle of South Florida, Broward County to be specific, home to one of the largest Jamaican diaspora communities in the United States, where men and women who grew up in the same communities, went to the same schools, and heard the same names their entire lives had built new lives far from the island. But the grudges had followed them. The same factions that were killing each other on the streets of Montego Bay and Salt Spring were now operating in parking lots and nightclubs in Lauderhill and Lauderdale Lakes. And the man at the center of it all, the dancehall artist from Salt Spring who had entered the U.S. legally in May 2019 and had not gone back, was about to find out just how far the reach of that feud extended. On the night of August 3rd, 2022, there was a shooting at Garden 411 in Lauderdale Lakes, Florida, which resulted from an ongoing gang feud originating from Salt Spring, St. James, Jamaica, involving rival groups. The Busshead gang, which is a syndicate of dancehall artist Squash 6 gang, and the rival Waltham Bad Breed gang. The attack was not random. According to investigators and gang sources, the man believed to have orchestrated and participated in the club shooting was Dwayne Muscleman Francis, a reputed hired killer and alleged financier associated with the Waltham Bad Breed gang, who was wanted for murder in Jamaica, according to court records. The same Waltham Bad Breed that had been trading blood with G-City since 2015. The same feud, different zip code, survived the shooting. But in the world he came from, surviving an attempt like that did not end the matter. It started a countdown, and the countdown ran out on October 19th, 2022. That evening, in the parking lot area of the Blueberry Hill condos in Lauderhill, Broward County, 2 men were shot and killed in what authorities described as a targeted, deliberate attack. The first victim was Dwayne Muscleman Francis himself, the same man believed to have orchestrated the August 3rd club shooting. The second was Jeff Ford Lord Murray, an upcoming dancehall artist and associate of Bad Breed connected figures, who was well known in Florida's Jamaican community. Both men were found suffering from apparent gunshot wounds in the parking lot. They were transported for medical attention, but were pronounced dead shortly after. 2 men, same parking lot, same night. Lauderhill police responded and immediately launched a double homicide investigation. And it did not take long for detectives to connect the dots back to the club shooting in August and the deeper gang war it was rooted in. The prime suspect that investigators identified was Jareem J. Man Shelton, a 26-year-old music producer and close associate of Squash, someone who had appeared in his music video and was described as moving in the same creative and personal circle as the dancehall artist. He was not just a peripheral acquaintance. He was closely tied to Squash professionally and personally, and law enforcement considered him a G-City affiliate. The evidence against Shelton was substantial. His blood allegedly matched 3 separate samples recovered from the crime scene at the Blueberry Hill parking lot. Surveillance video placed him at the scene, and social media posts, including content from his Instagram account, were used by investigators to help build the case against him. On October 25, 2022, just 6 days after the double murder, Shelton was arrested by Lauderhill police and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He appeared in Broward County Court, initially seeking a public defender, with Ana Paulina Guevara appointed in early 2023, before later retaining private counsel. Court dates continued through 2023, with the case drawing significant attention as further evidence of the St. James Gang War having firmly established itself on American soil. Florida law enforcement was not quiet about what they were seeing. Lauderhill police confirmed that they were cracking down on Jamaican-linked gang violence in the area following the October killings. The double murder in Lauderhill, the club shooting before it, and the pattern of incidents investigators were linking to the G-City versus Waltham Bad Breed feud painted a picture of a transnational criminal conflict that had outgrown the borders of a single Caribbean island. U.S. authorities had, in fact, been building that picture for some time. Federal law enforcement had described G-City as a transnational criminal organization, with operations tied to the feud going back to at least 2017, pointing to incidents that stretched from St. James to Costa Rica to South Florida as evidence of the gang's international footprint. In the immediate aftermath of the Lauderhill double murder, while Shelton's arrest was still fresh news and U.S. investigators were working through the details, something else was happening online. A voice note began circulating widely on social media platforms and WhatsApp, spreading through Jamaica, through the diaspora in Florida, through dancehall circles globally. The recording featured an anonymous male voice issuing direct death threats against Squash. The message explicitly warned promoters and event organizers not to book him for shows, threatening harm to anyone who defied the directive. It was an attempt to blacklist him from the dancehall scene entirely, to cut off his income, his platform, and his public presence. The voice note gained rapid traction in late October and early November 2022, amplified by the speculation swirling around Squash's connection to the Lauderhill murders and the broader gang investigation. Squash did not go silent. Shortly after the voice note went viral, he posted a video message to his social media accounts. In the clip, he appeared calm and direct. He addressed the rumors head-on, denied any gang leadership or involvement in the violence, assured fans and family that he was safe and fully active, and urged people to focus on his music. He rejected the credibility of the threats and made clear he was not going anywhere. It was a composed response, the kind of public statement that managed the optics of the moment without giving law enforcement anything new to work with. But beneath the surface, Squash's situation in the United States was considerably more complicated than any Instagram video could address, because the immigration clock had been ticking for years. When Andrae Whittaker entered the United States in May 2019 on a valid visa, the plan, at least on paper, was legal entry and legitimate purpose. But that visa expired around 2020, and he did not leave. His continued presence in the country became unlawful under U.S. immigration law the moment that expiration passed. Then in January 2021, he allegedly crossed back into the United States without inspection, meaning he re-entered the country illegally rather than through any official port of entry. That second move compounded the original overstay with an improper entry violation, adding a separate and more serious immigration charge to his profile. For a couple of years, these violations remained beneath the surface of his public life, Then in 2023, a traffic stop in Florida handled by the Broward Sheriff's Office brought them into the open. Following that stop and the immigration issues it surfaced, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detained Squash in May 2023, specifically for the visa overstay and the unlawful re-entry. He was now in federal immigration custody. While detained, Squash married a U.S. citizen, a move that under immigration law opened potential pathways toward adjustment of status through spousal sponsorship and facilitated his release on bond. He was let out while the immigration matter remained unresolved, allowed to remain in the country as proceedings continued. The marriage bought him time, but it also became relevant in a way nobody may have anticipated when less than 2 years later, the firearm case arrived. On February 24, 2025, Squash was riding as a passenger in a gray Mercedes-Benz in Miami Beach, Florida, when the vehicle was pulled over by police for a traffic violation. During the stop, officers observed him placing an object into the glove compartment of the car, a detail that gave them grounds to conduct a search of the vehicle. What they found inside ended any remaining normalcy in his life in the United States. In the glove compartment was a modified Glock 19 pistol, what is commonly called a chip Glock, a weapon that had been altered to fire automatically, which under federal law classifies it as a machine gun. Beneath the driver's seat, officers recovered a Glock 35 chambered in .40 caliber and fitted with an extended magazine. 3 additional loaded magazines were scattered elsewhere in the car. Squash was taken into custody. He was initially charged at the state level with illegal possession of a modified firearm and carrying a concealed weapon without a valid permit. Here is where the earlier immigration history became central to everything. The Glock 35 recovered in that car, the .40 caliber pistol under the driver's seat, had reportedly been purchased by Squash's U.S. citizen wife, the woman whose marriage had facilitated his release from ICE detention in 2023, had bought one of the weapons found in the vehicle during his 2025 arrest. Federal prosecutors took over the case. The original state charges were dropped and new federal counts were filed. One charge under 18 U.S.C. Section 922 G5A for being an alien unlawfully present in the United States in possession of a firearm or ammunition, and a second charge for the unlawful possession of a machine gun, specifically the modified Glock 19. In April 2025, Squash entered a not guilty plea, but as the federal case progressed, the weight of the evidence and the terms of a plea agreement became the more practical path forward. Squash ultimately agreed to plead guilty to the federal charges. On November 24, 2025, he was sentenced in Miami federal court to 27 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release upon completion of his sentence. He was held at the Federal Detention Center in Miami, with Bureau of Prisons records projecting a release date of January 25, 2027. His defense team consistently pushed back against the broader gang-related allegations that surfaced in court documents throughout the proceedings. The references to G-City, to transnational criminal activity, to the feud that had defined St. James for nearly a decade. But those denials did not change the core facts in front of the court. An undocumented man illegally re-entered, found in possession of a modified machine gun and a second firearm in Miami Beach, Florida. The 27-month sentence reflected the plea agreement and his cooperation, but the consequences did not end with the prison term. Upon his release in January 2027, Squash is expected to face immediate immigration proceedings initiated by ICE. The combination of his original visa overstay, his illegal re-entry in January 2021, and his federal felony conviction makes him removable under U.S. immigration law, with limited viable defenses. Despite the marriage to a U.S. citizen, no successful adjustment to permanent residency has been publicly reported. Legal experts watching the case noted that a felony firearm conviction significantly undermines any adjustment of status petition, and the illegal re-entry compounds the matter further. All signs point toward deportation once he completes his sentence. A return to Jamaica, a return to Salt Spring, a return to the world he reportedly left behind in 2019 when the state of emergency released him from custody one day before it expired. What Squash returns to, if he does return, will be a very different Salt Spring from the one he grew up in. The gang infrastructure that G-Man built from grief in 2015 has been systematically dismantled through years of police and military operations. Key figures killed in confrontations, others arrested, the scamming networks disrupted through joint operations involving Jamaican and U.S. agencies. Tevin Pete Stewart, the alleged top enforcer, was killed in Salt Spring in February 2022. Paul J. Lewis, the alleged second-in-command, died in a police confrontation in Old Harbor in October 2017. G-Man himself is gone. Joseph, the brother whose murder started all of this, has been gone since September 2015. The men who built G-City from the ground up in Salt Spring are mostly dead or in custody, and the community they terrorized through extortion, home invasions, targeted killings, and years of unchecked violence has been left to reckon with what was left behind. The story of the three Whittaker brothers is, in the end, a story about what happens when loss is converted into power. Joseph was not a gang leader. He was a young man from Salt Spring dealing in scamming leads, part of an underground economy that was deeply embedded in the community around him. He was somebody's brother, somebody's son, a resident of a working-class community who got caught up in the business of defrauding elderly people abroad and who paid for it with his life when a rival decided the leads were worth more than he was. His murder over something as transactional as a contact list sparked a blood feud that claimed hundreds of lives across several years, spread from Jamaica to Costa Rica to South Florida, and drew the attention of law enforcement agencies on multiple continents.